Breaking news! Things are heating up behind the scenes at the Philadelphia Eagles, and I've got some huge updates to share with you right now. Everyone knows the Eagles are laser focused on getting back to the Super Bowl, and for that to happen, Howie Roseman is working relentlessly to build a roster stacked with elite talent, ready to take on any challenge. I'm about to break it all down for you. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button, only if you're a true Philadelphia Eagles fan. If you've been supporting this team for over 20 years, drop a comment saying, "Go Eagles!" Let's show the world the strength of our fan base. Let's get straight to it. The big question making waves right now. Does Eagles general manager Howie Roseman have another blockbuster trade up his sleeve? If you've been following Howie's tenure, you know that the man never rests. He's always strategizing, always positioning the Eagles to be contenders. History has shown us that when the Eagles have a need, Howie is relentless in pursuing a solution. The front office, led by owner Jeffrey Lurie, has consistently demonstrated one of the most aggressive and financially committed approaches in the entire NFL, giving Howie the runway to make bold moves. Take a look at Howie's recent track record. Each move has significantly elevated this franchise. Remember the trade for C.J. Gardner-Johnson right before the 2022 season? That wasn't just a good move, it was a game changer. The Eagles needed help at the safety position, and C.J. came in, delivering positional versatility, ball-hawking skills, swagger, leadership, and confidence that completely transformed the defense. Then there was the monumental draft night trade for A.J. Brown in 2022. Since arriving in Philadelphia, Brown has been nothing short of spectacular, an all-pro wide receiver in each of his 3 seasons, firmly cementing himself as a top 3 to 5 receiver in the entire NFL. Let's not forget the savvy trade for Darius Slay, turning him into an all-pro, Pro Bowl cornerback and an invaluable locker room leader. And the more underrated move, bringing in Darren Sproles. Multiple draft trades also come to mind, as Howie has consistently leveraged assets to maximize this team's potential. But now, the buzz is all about one name, Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Fans have been flooding the comment sections, asking if the Eagles should make a move for him. Let's lay it all out. This fits the exact profile of a Howie Roseman special. Why? Because Hendrickson is currently locked in a contract standoff with Cincinnati. He's entering the final year of his deal, with no more guaranteed money left. And here's the kicker, over the last 2 seasons, no player in the NFL has recorded more sacks than Trey Hendrickson. That's right, nobody. He's seeking a pay raise, and rightfully so. His contract has become outdated relative to his production. While Hendrickson has publicly expressed his desire to stay in Cincinnati, he's raising his family there and calls it home. He's also been very clear that if the Bengals won't give him a new deal, it might be time to move on. Adding fuel to the fire, we know that Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow pushed hard for the Bengals to pay both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, which they did, paying out big contracts. Burrow even referenced the Eagles as a model organization, saying, "The Eagles are paying everybody. That seems like the way. Whatever they're doing, we need to do." But here's where it gets really interesting. Cincinnati's front office does not operate with the same savvy and aggressive contract structuring as Howie Roseman. The Bengals paid their stars, but in ways that arguably lack the long-term flexibility that the Eagles are known for. As Burrow himself put it, Philadelphia has cracked the code, managing to pay their core players while keeping cap flexibility. And yes, Joe Burrow recently addressed Hendrickson's situation, saying, "We'll see what happens with that. You guys all know how I feel about Trey. He's a great player. I love Trey as a guy. He deserves to get paid what he wants." A clear show of support, but not exactly a firm guarantee that Trey stays in Cincinnati. Let's consider the stakes for the Eagles. A trade for Hendrickson would align perfectly with Philadelphia's current win-now mode. However, it does come with some risk. Hendrickson is over 30, and he's about to command a massive contract. But when you're chasing Super Bowl glory, sometimes you make those moves that push you over the top. The Eagles have the cap space to make this happen, sitting comfortably with $25.8 million in cap room, 15th in the NFL, and that number grows to $27.2 million in 2026, placing them 13th. Howie and Jeffrey Lurie have expertly backloaded deals so that the true cap hits don't become an issue until the new NFL TV deal kicks in, skyrocketing the cap and giving Philadelphia even more flexibility. And let's not forget how the Eagles nearly made a run at another elite pass rusher, Myles Garrett, showing interest during the NFL Combine. Howie isn't shy about exploring options at the highest level. Hendrickson fits that mold. A relentless pass rusher who, over the last 2 seasons, has recorded back-to-back years of 17.5 sacks. That's production you can't ignore. But here's where the debate intensifies. The Eagles have built a deep and talented defensive line. Even without an addition like Hendrickson, they're in an excellent spot. Young players like Morrow are poised for breakout years. Jordan Davis turned it on midway through last season, and Jalen Carter, well, you can make a legitimate case that he is already the most disruptive and best defensive tackle in the game, perhaps only rivaled by Chris Jones. As for edge rushers, the Eagles love what they're seeing from Nolan Smith and Jay Hunt. Nolan took a huge leap in his second year, and Jay Hunt was sensational in the playoffs to the point where some even forgot about Bryce Huff. Plus, the Eagles made several key moves in free agency, signing Josh Uche, Azeez Ojulari, and drafting Antoine Paulin. That's depth for days. But here's the counterpoint. None of those guys are Trey Hendrickson. So, Eagles fans, I've laid out all the facts for you. Should Howie go all in for Trey Hendrickson, betting on immediate impact at the potential cost of future flexibility? Or should the Eagles trust in their current youth movement, letting these young pass rushers continue to grow and develop within the system? Let me know what you think in the comments. Should the Eagles trade for Trey Hendrickson? Are you ready to see another bold Howie Roseman move? Or is it time to stick with the homegrown talent? Drop your thoughts below. I'll be waiting to read all your takes before we jump into the second part of this discussion. Because when we're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and their future, this isn't just about one player or one move. It's about understanding how this front office, this coaching staff, and this locker room have been strategically constructed to not just compete for a playoff berth, but to dominate, to set the tone in the NFC, and to chase another Lombardi trophy. Now, let's dive deeper into why this potential move for Trey Hendrickson is generating so much buzz. It's not just the sack numbers, although those are absolutely elite. Back-to-back seasons with 17.5 sacks is the kind of production that puts you in a rare category. It's about what that kind of presence does for an entire defense. With Hendrickson lined up opposite the likes of Josh Sweat or Nolan Smith, offenses would be forced to make impossible decisions. Who do you double team? If you double Hendrickson, you're leaving Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis with one-on-one matchups inside, and we've all seen what Carter can do in those situations. The ripple effect of adding a pass rusher of Hendrickson's caliber would be seismic. But let's not get ahead of ourselves without considering the economics and the long-term impact. Hendrickson is going to demand a contract that positions him among the highest-paid edge rushers in the league. We're talking about potentially joining the likes of Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, and Nick Bosa, all of whom are pulling in north of $30 million per year. With Micah Parsons expected to reset the market soon, possibly eclipsing $40 million annually, the cost of top-tier pass rushers is only going up. For Howie Roseman, the master of cap gymnastics, this would mean getting creative yet again. Fortunately, as we've discussed, the Eagles are in a very good place financially, with their major contracts strategically structured to maximize their competitive window. The team's big cap hits don't really balloon until 2028 or 2029, coinciding with the anticipated surge in the NFL salary cap following the new TV deals. This is not an accident. This is Howie's plan in action, giving the Eagles a clear runway for win-now moves while keeping an eye on the future. But, if we're being honest, there's also the philosophical debate at play here. Should the Eagles leverage draft capital and financial resources for a veteran like Hendrickson who, while productive, is past the age of 30? Or should they continue to double down on the young core they've already assembled? Players like Nolan Smith, who, as mentioned, took an enormous step